Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm back again tonight to continue calling on this government to fix the Canada Disability Benefit. To sum up where we're at now, this is critical because it's 40% of people living in poverty across the country are folks with disabilities. 40% up till this point. And this is the case because provincial and territorial programs are all below the poverty line. In the province of Ontario, for example, the Ontario Disability Support Program is a total of just over $1,300 a month. In Kitchener, for example, that doesn't get most people 1 month's rent on an apartment, and it's about $1,000 below the poverty line. Now, as a result of the advocacy from folks with disabilities across the country and the disability community, they advocated for this government to introduce a federal benefit that would supplement these inadequate provincial and territorial programs. It was promised by this government years ago. It was again in their 2021 election platform that they campaigned on. It was to be called the Canada Disability Benefit, and they put forward that this would lift at least hundreds of thousands of folks with disabilities out of poverty. Now, as a result of those commitments, we did see legislation get passed, and we saw the first version of a proposal for the Canada Disability Benefit in this year's budget. The issue is that what's being proposed is nothing that the disability community had been calling for. They're proposing it to be a maximum of $200 a month, about $6 a day. They're proposing for it to only be delivered to folks who have access to the disability tax credit, an incredibly burdensome credit to get access to. And they're proposing for it to start not till July of next year. It's about 3 months before the next fixed election date. Here's what folks in the disability community, I'll just share two briefly for time tonight. Here's Krista Carr from Inclusion Canada. She said, "Our disappointment cannot be overstated. This benefit was supposed to lift persons with disabilities out of poverty, not merely make them marginally less poor than they already are." Or I've read the words from Kate before in this house. Her words, "This budget announcement of a max of $100 more a month to a select few disabled people is the most Liberal Party thing I've ever seen." As a result, at committee, I asked the minister a series of questions, including how many people with disabilities would be lifted out of poverty and who in their consultations asked for this. Last week, we finally got some answers, and they were disappointing. The minister hasn't met with all of her provincial counterparts, including Ontario. Nothing is scheduled there. The benefit will not lift hundreds of thousands out of poverty. It'll be about 25,000, about 2% of folks with disabilities living in poverty. And for all their talk about nothing without us, only 3% of respondents to their online survey indicated support for the disability tax credit to be the sole eligibility criteria. So it's clear now that the Canada Disability Benefit that they're proposing didn't come from the disability community. And so my question to the Parliamentary Secretary is the same I asked months ago. If this proposal didn't come from the disability community, who is it that asked for what this government is proposing to be in the Canada Disability Benefit after 3 years of supposedly consulting with the disability community?
Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Official Languages.
Mr. Speaker, I first want to thank the member for Kitchener Centre for his continued advocacy on behalf of persons with disabilities. Nous sommes en voie de...
We are on track to deliver the first ever federal benefit for people with disabilities. Design and implementation work is underway. We need to get this additional support to those who need it most as quickly as possible.
The Canada Disability Benefit is a major milestone in a strong and unwavering commitment to create a more inclusive and fairer Canada. Budget 2024, we are committing to invest $6.1 billion over 6 years, beginning in 2024-2025, and $1.4 billion per year ongoing. And I want to repeat, Budget 2024 is has $6.1 billion. This is the single largest line item in the budget of 2024, so it's really important. And I want to thank all of those who have been relentless in their advocacy and their championing the needs and priorities for people with disabilities. In the spirit of nothing without us, we will continue to listen and engage with the disability community in the next phase of delivering this historical benefit as we work towards the regulatory process. And rest assured, in July 2025, eligible Canadians will receive their first payment. They will help over 600,000 Canadians with the cost of groceries, transit, and equipment. La prestation canadienne pour les...
The Canada Disability Benefit has a clear objective: help to reduce poverty among working age persons with a disability. We've already said it, and I will say it again. The benefit seeks to complement and not replace provincial and territorial measures that already exist to support income for persons with a disability. We must continue to work with the provinces
to make sure there's no clawbacks. We aspire for the benefit to grow over time in a responsible and meaningful way in collaboration with the provinces. And our goal that all persons with disabilities are better off because of this benefit. Mr. Speaker, as everyone can see, this process is a huge undertaking, and we must ensure it's done right. We cannot cut corners, and we need to let the consultation play out. Broad, meaningful, and barrier-free consultation with the disability community is important, not just because it is required in the new Canada Disability Benefit Act, but is also because it's fundamental that we believe in the way to go to make sure that we improve the lives of people with disabilities. The work is ongoing. It's working well. We are on track towards providing the first benefit payment in July 2025. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Kitchener Centre.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Parliamentary Secretary is a friend, and I know he is speaking from the heart, but I have to respond to say that if he and others in this government are calling this a major milestone, but the disability community isn't, the community that's meant to be supported by the benefit, we've got a problem here. And one of those problems is the consultation process he mentioned. That consultation's in there because it's an amendment that I got added to the bill, almost 2 years ago now. The issue, though, is for all the talk of listening and consultation, and we hear you, the fact is that the disability community is trying to tell this government that the things that folks with disabilities have been calling for aren't in this benefit. And so what they're trying to get this government to understand is that they've got to do better. This talk about it might grow over time. What we need to see is a matter of urgency to recognize that this is a crisis, the number of people with disabilities living in poverty in my community and mine, and I hope he's going to step up and do more about it.
The honourable member for Nickel Belt.
Mr. Speaker, since 2015, we have cut the poverty rate in half in Canada. We have lifted more than 2 million Canadians out of poverty, including more than 650 children.
We are not slowing down. We are focusing on strengthening our social safety net to support the most vulnerable, including persons with disabilities. It is unacceptable that persons with disabilities are more likely to live below the poverty line than non-disabled people.
Ever federal benefit for persons with disability with extra financial security to over 600,000 Canadians, we need it the most. By 2028, the Canada Disability Benefit will lift, as the member mentioned, 25,000 working age persons with disability and 15,000 their family members out of poverty each year. This is the next step in the progression of disability rights in Canada, not a destination. Our government will continue to champion the needs and the priorities of people with disabilities as we build a fairer and more inclusive Canada for all. Thank you.